Harry might not seem so scary when you've got a gun line this large, but nonetheless, he is quite the force to be reckoned with, especially when he's combined, as I adjust my mic, apologies, with so many aspiring champs, which is quite the build here from Berserk, who's facing off against Calamity here, obviously the submitter of this replay. Yeah, Vampire Coast, we've got deckhands up front with some handguns, shotguns, animated hulks, and the Lamprey's Revenge. Regiment of Renown, Gunnery Mob Prometheans. Defending here, we've got a cannon. Going to be teeing off on some aspiring champs. We've got two regular and the Regiment of Renown Severed Claw. Backing up Harold Hammerstorm, who of course removes the undead trait and can terrify away undead enemy units, which is just fantastic to support them. Plenty of Marauder Horsemen out in the periphery here. Slanesh, Sorcerer, looking for that Pavane here. Very strong spell, obviously, with the Enrage and the damage. And Sorcerer, Lord of Nurgle, also for some healing and Rancid Visitation, Stream of Corruption. So quite a bit of spend on different spells to have utility for Berserk, but I like the pick of the Aspiring Champs. Harry coming forward here. Right now, the cannon's trying to focus on the champs, see if they can take out some unit models. They actually have not killed a single unit model yet, although they are doing some really good HP damage. Can't help but feel they maybe should focus on Harry at this point. The cannons are accurate enough that they could hit Harry out at distance like this. Maybe do some damage to him. I don't know. Maybe he wants to be more consistent with the shots. Hard to say. With Harry leading, of course, it's going to be quite the situation for these front line deckhands. So we'll keep it close to Mr. Hammerstorm. Cinematic cam as he runs up with his bros, the aspiring champs, of course, of equal size to him. Nice summon from Noctilus. I'll break up this advance a little bit, but it's not going to stop the champs of Chaos getting into combat here. Looking absolutely gorgeous. Massive statue there in the distance. We are on the Tomb King's map, reminding me of Pharaoh Legacies. I did a whole stream on it. If you guys are interested, TLDR, the game, I think is fun. I've definitely enjoyed it. It's tough for me to make value recommendations. I typically don't on my channel, but if you're a fan of historical Total Wars and you've been holding off on Pharaoh, I definitely think it's much more worthwhile now with the amount of content added. But anyway, speaking of content, it looks like great content here. These aspiring champs just charging on through. They managed to terrify away this first unit here. Well, Harry does at the very least. Second line is being compromised already by the aspiring champs. So the rest of the units, Marauder Horsemen, just kind of sitting out on the flanks, probing, kind of skirmishing a little bit, looking for openings to perhaps come in, charge down some of these ranged units. Right now, there is some pretty serious damage being done in the front line. No cost Mystifying Miasma. A little bit of extra damage from Noctilus as he just tries to wear down champs as much as possible. Obviously, there's healing from Nurgle, which is going to be pretty critical to sustain this assault, because right now, focus fire is pretty extreme. All these different zombie units turning to shoot, and yeah, the carronades you can see doing some really nice damage to Harry, especially this close. They can be very accurate and get consistent hits on him, so Harold right now looking pretty thin, and the rest of the army is basically stable, right? But yeah, Berserk not really worrying too much about fighting these deckhands. He does have this one aspiring champ kind of in tactical reserve, just wailing on him right now. Starting to activate some of these Marauder Horsemen. They actually have some Marauder Horsemen of Khorne mixed in here, who are going to obviously have much better melee stats, anti-infantry, higher charge, just higher weapon strength overall, so they'll be great hybrid utility for taking out. Looks like that was that the only Khorne Horseman? Yeah, still nicely done there to come in and take out those hand cannons and then pull back away. Yeah, the Marauder Horsemen now being deployed as hybrid utility are going to get beaten back by animated hulks in many situations, but also are able to get through on these zombie guns as well. So, he's looking pretty grim. I mean, I say looking pretty grim. Actually looking pretty close right now. Harry has managed to charge on through, route the cannons, route a lot of these important key units. Lamprey's Revenge even now kind of getting focused down by these aspiring champs. You can see how much the aspiring champs have been healed as well. They're getting this unit at least pretty close to its healing cap, which is quite impressive. Good to see some synergy of the different chaos lores there for warriors. It is obviously the main strength of warriors, is having such an extreme variety of sort of units within a specific style, which is rush, right? But Berserk, very good player, was one of the finalists in my South Sea Mercenary League 2024, which I am planning on finishing. I need to finalize the dates with the competitors. I've just had way too much going on this month, a lot going on in my personal life, so I haven't had time to finalize things. And also, I screwed up some paperwork with Creative Assembly, so I haven't actually got paid my sponsorship money from them yet. But anyway, all that to say, that tournament is finishing, and Berserk is one of the finalists in that tournament, so very strong player. I love to see his different approaches, how he kind of thinks through different matchups. This is definitely an interesting one to have, just that exceedingly tall infantry, just block, just smashing up the center of the formation, while the periphery is just distracted by these, you know, kind of light cavalry units, who can then move in and provide some hybrid utility, fighting in melee, kind of breaking up the formation here. Yeah, you can see how much the Vampire Coast has been taken out of position. Those slow zombies are very much punished by doing so. They have a hard time getting back to where they need to be, obviously, with that super slow speed. It is a faction that's very punishing to positional mistakes. So, all that being said, Berserk being able to lead some units kind of astray here with those Marauder Horsemen does mean as his block gets back into combat here, it should do a little bit better. This one, the Aspiring Champ, getting focused a little bit, managing to hold their leadership for the time being. Chaos Sorcerer of Slaanesh, and of course Harry's infantry bros pushing up there. I didn't see what happened to the Nurgle Sorcerer Lord. He might have just got killed by... Yeah, I don't see him on the field, actually. That's good casting by me. I guess he just got mown down by guns. Taken out, but Noctilus now... A little bit more Melkos mystifying Miasma, trying to drag down those Aspiring Champs. Honestly, Noctilus fighting them in melee, as long as he's not getting overwhelmed, will be an effective armor-piercing tool. There's not a lot else Coast has in melee that's going to do much. Even the, animated Hulks just really don't have the melee attack to get through. So going to be relying on the few armor-piercing missiles remaining as well. There's a handful of hand cannons, and the Slaanesh Sorcerer looking to use its mobility to try and pressure them. A little bit of Invocation of Nehek there, just to make sure to keep that shotgun unit online. Tactically, going to be very important. There's also a whole mess of animated Hulks coming to collapse here. With that many numbers, they should be able to get the job done and finish this unit off. But of course, Harry's Aspiring Champs himself also looking pretty good here. But let's see how they can get on. We'll maybe fast forward a little bit through this late game grind as the Dread Box Chaos Champs moves in. Of course, Harry removing the leadership and causing terror is going to cause serious issues for these low leadership undead units as they kind of terrify away. Obviously, return to undead status and come back to the fight relatively soon, but just in general having a hard time staying in the fight. And certainly don't want to be sent into disintegration. But Chaos Sorcerer of Slaanesh continuing to pressure this handgun mob here. Or the shotgun mob, rather. They pull away. Animated Hulks continuing to try to screen. Hand cannons, yeah, they do get a really nice volley to actually fire in here. So far, they've been trying to shoot the Slaanesh Sorcerer. Haven't really gotten a good bead on shooting into the back of this blob, unfortunately. For the... Ghost player here, Calamity, trying his best to keep them online, but that slow zombie speed just absolutely hurting him at this point as he tries to get them away. And pretty soon it becomes apparent that they're just done for the day, and it's up to Noctilus to try and grind it out in melee, which, you know, he's definitely a very good melee combatant, anti-large AP. Anti-large will certainly help against the Slaanesh Sorcerer, but not so much against Harry, and obviously Harry also having his little debuff aura. Plus 10 melee defense and minus 10% weapon strength, right? So he gets extra weapon strength, or melee defense, only 45 attack on Noctilus, so without the bonus versus large, he really doesn't hit that hard. The Bane Shield is also reducing his weapon strength below 400, so yeah, in terms of combatants, I think Harry's got him pretty much outmatched here. Yeah, in terms of attack and defense, weapon strength, armor, gonna be interesting. All that's left for... Oh yeah, look, Horn Horseman still hanging around as well. Critical rear charge here to break the leadership of the zombies. Herald continues brawling it out, getting some hits on Noctilus himself. All of a sudden, undead leadership hits disintegration, all these units are going to just evaporate. And yeah, summons, of course, as well. Not lasting long in this world. Aspiring Claw are eventually dealt with, but there's just a handful more champs here. And of course, the champ of all champs, Harold Hammerstorm, manages to clutch his way through all that damage, tank it out, and looking like he's going to take the win here. Not looking good for Noctilus as he starts to take massive damage. And Calamity, big ups to submitting a loss. Not a lot of people do that. I always appreciate it, and quite a close one too. Credit to Berserk, playing that one very well. I have to say, I love the build. Aspiring Champs are not a unit that sees a ton of use, but has a lot of good use case in this particular matchup. And of course, the Regiment of Renown having anti-large AP means they can dish out a lot more damage, but just overall great. Harold, actually damage-wise doesn't do a ton, but of course, tactically being able to route off all those units is absolutely critical. The Horsemen all do a nice job of supporting as well. Yeah, Calamity definitely faced with sort of an unorthodox build. Did as best as he could, certainly could be said. The only thing really I would comment on is just maybe targeting the Carronade onto Harold from the very start and basically just keeping it on him the whole time. There's a little bit of damage that ended up going to those Aspiring Champs that, I mean, you also have to kill the Aspiring Champs, it must be said. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you'll also just try and prioritize the Nurgle Sorcerer a little bit more. Certainly easier said than done, but if you could remove a little bit of healing, Harold might not have stuck around until the late game there. So definitely an interesting one, though. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you'd like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.